we might kick off in just a sec. We're just having a few more people join. Um, this webinar is focused on AI and drones. How the emerging technology of AI can be integrated in with aerial drones, which is something that is becoming more relevant in terms of image recognition, using machine learning and artificial intelligence solutions across asset inspection, surveying, mining operations. The use case goes on, utilities, energy, retailers, and the list goes on and on. But there's a range of use cases which typically AI is utilized in terms of database and digital data analysis and ingestion, and basically reviewing big data is typically where people think about AI. But in terms of with drones, the AI use cases are a lot more focused around image recognition and all that sort of thing. So Alistair will be going through that much more detail. So we might just jump off. We've got Alistair from Vivanti and Wayne from UAV Group with us. We might just jump into it, and we'll kick off with some introductions. So I'll just go to the next slide. So we'll introduce Alistair from Vivanti, Director of AI and Analytics. And Alistair, if you can just give us a little bit of background around Vivanti and your role and your background, that'd really be good. And then we can jump into some more questions.
Sure thing. Thanks, Glenn. So I'm a director at Vivanti and look after the AI practice there. And Vivanti it's a fairly new consultancy, Australia-based, but also with now a UK office and a US office as well. Even though we're quite young, I'm talking from launched properly in April this year, we're actually over 60 people already. And the reason is we kind of come from having worked together in a previous company called Servian. So we worked together for a very long time already. So the consulting is going very well. And the things we do is we do consulting services and advisory services in areas of data, cloud, and think like data platforms and cloud platforms like Google Cloud. And we do digital, we do AI, and that's obviously an area I specialize in. And we do customer as well. There are key pillars of areas that we service. So we're kind of known as being consultants who tackle difficult problems. And we're happy to work on whatever sort of issue that comes up, and really stick around and deliver based on value. That's how we've been and grown. And for myself, for my background, I started in engineering. So I studied mechatronic engineering and commerce at Sydney Uni, and then got into the industrial engineering space, working at Siemens for a few years, and before that in power stations. And then I switched to the data ML world. I heard about machine learning and got hooked, and it was sort of an easy transition from where I'd come from anyway. But just studied that and just hoovered up whatever jobs I could get, and then eventually joined Servian as a consultant, and continued doing lots of different machine learning projects with them. I've got quite a wide range of different machine learning projects I've done for different industries over the years. And yeah, now I'm with Vivanti and doing a similar kind of thing.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thanks, mate. So we'll move forward through to the first sort of question around the joint proposition in terms of how, aerial drones can be used in terms of, putting different AI layers over the top. How would you say that AI and aerial drones fit together, and what are some of the compelling use cases for customers?
So it's a super interesting space that's clearly just going to grow and grow and grow and grow. And I'll probably clarify something first, that AI essentially exists in drones before you even start to think about the applications. So AI is being used to control the drones, where they operate, even just algorithms for stability, as well as for how they operate in in swarms, or they just how they follow paths. There's algorithms running those that you would call AI as well. But really what we're talking about is the sensory information is captured by the drones, and how we can apply AI to that sensor data, particularly vision, to achieve whatever we want to. And the areas that seem to be most applicable initially seem to be things like remote site inspection. So the company has assets that are remote, whether those are like, it could be, wind power stations or solar power stations or transmission lines or substations or mining sites or ports or anything that's sort of remote, doesn't have a large people population. It's great to use drones to get perspective and inspect those areas. There's things like surveying of mining sites or other kinds of sites. I've seen a lot of use cases pop up around the construction site monitoring, whether that's for OH&S reasons or for just monitoring of progress of the construction on those sites. And then the agriculture sector, scanning over crops and looking for or detecting weeds, for example, or even other kind of animals and things that are appearing there and just capturing those. So really broad use cases coming out of both industry and academia. There's a lot we could apply right now, the technology we already have.
Yeah, definitely. Fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic. Look, that's really good to know, because I guess where we're coming from, UAV Group, is we help organizations use drones and help with the safety compliance with heritage in aviation and drones. But you really want to get to doing more with the drones. You want to be doing services and delivering services that help give your organization a benefit, like help make your organization revenue, add new services into the market, or save money. So that's really what you want to do with drones. What we do from the safety compliance side is the foundational piece, but then this value added layer of what Vivanti, you guys can do. That's really what we're looking to dive into here. So thanks for that sort of summary there. In terms of just diving into it in a bit more detail, looking at some of the business benefits, looking at some of the financial tangible benefits and some use cases. Could you just go through, what are some of the real benefits to using, AI in conjunction with aerial drones?
Yeah, sure. So there's really kind of three that stick out in terms of the business benefits sort of cluster within either a cost reduction piece, or it's a new functionality for revenue, or it's a risk mitigation type benefit. On the cost reduction benefit, a lot of them are to do with saving time. So, they have inspection equipment, and they have the ability to run airplanes or drones over the sites, and they can review this footage, and they do this for certain assets that they've got to manage. But that's very time consuming, and they'll miss things. So just this pure time saving of people reviewing it is one of the key motivators, the key value adds. But then there's also things that you just couldn't do before. It just wasn't even feasible. So maybe you've got operations to do this currently, but maybe you couldn't do it in the first place. And then that's a value-added service to be able to provide, say, inspections and reliability, for example. So that's kind of revenue enhancement angle. And then you've got risk mitigation, which is using them to observe issues, like helping out several years ago, a power company in South Australia who were applying drones to monitor the power lines and looking for degradation in the power lines there. And they put out to market people, for help to apply AI to review that footage and classify for certain kinds of damage there. And that was a success, I should say. And I believe that's still going. I haven't been engaged with them since, but I believe they're still running drones and they're applying AI, as far as I know, to get those benefits.
Yeah, fantastic. So it's saving money, cost reduction, increasing revenue, and mitigating risk. With, for
Yeah,
instance, like a power company using drones. So there's real financial benefits to using, AI over the top, because a lot of our clients we see, using drones for, imaging, aerial photography, or for surveying, volumetric, using lidar or photogrammetry. But these sort of new use cases, are really driving a business benefit, using AI. So that's what we're trying to bring some awareness to. That's fantastic. So what we might go through now is diving into a specific case study, if you could take us through that in terms of how AI and aerial drones have benefited a specific organization, and what were those specific benefits that were delivered.
sure. So maybe following that same example, um, the benefits for this power company, trying to manage the poles and wires they've got for the transmissions lines, both high voltage and I think medium voltage power lines, is there's just issues that crop up, whether they're it's damage from trees falling over the lines, or whether it's the degradation of the wood or metal, looking for cracks or things being built on them that shouldn't be there by birds, for example, or anything. And so it's just a matter of that those assets have value. There's certain kinds of things that happen to them that are known, and we can capture footage and classify those things. And even if we can't classify them specifically, we can at least categorize them as this is unknown potential risk. And so you can automatically classify a lot of things that are observed, and then you can triage the rest over human reviewers to observe and mark for other kinds of issues as they appear. And that's sort of a common setup for then being able to better manage their assets and get more life out of them, and reduce the cost of inspections, reduce the cost of keeping them running, and reduce the cost of the humans teams that have to review them.
Yeah, fantastic. So I guess a lot of different industries could benefit from this, right? So like construction, local government, state government agencies, utilities, all these different industries are probably experiencing the same thing in terms of trouble finding people to do the jobs they're after, in terms of a sort of global labor shortage, whatever. So AI is really there as well to help fill that gap as well, because you're giving these repeatable, mundane tasks, which might be boring and whatever, to using AI to pick up the load there, right? So that's that's
in a timely way too. You might be able to react much faster with AI as well.
Yep.
If you think about the sort of safety use cases,
Yes.
it takes time for humans to get involved and comprehend and respond. Whereas you can react much faster with automated systems using computer vision and classification of things that are occurring in those imagery.
Yeah, fantastic. So we'll go through now to the next sort of part, which is going through how UAV Group and Vivanti can work together. Alistair, how would you see that sort of working moving forward, with clients? How could we sort of approach a client, whether it's construction, whether it's a local government council, whether it's a state gov agency, whatever the industry is, mining, whatever the industry is, how could we approach that in a joint proposition? How do you see that sort of working?
We talked about this before, and I think it's quite symbiotic in terms of our two companies, where they work together. With UAV Group focusing on the auditing and the regulation concerns, and enabling those drones to be used safely. That's part of the management suite of how you manage these assets and plan for them. Whereas Vivanti is more on the side of, okay, we're capturing data with these. What do we do with that data? How do we get value out of it, and how do it affect the processes and operations of this particular company? So we typically work by running engagements where we do some advisory and try to think through, okay, what's the problem that we're trying to solve for, and construct solutions. We pull in our expertise about the data platforms and other technologies and AI technologies, how to solve it, and then work with those companies to define and then engineer a solution and deploy it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. And UAV handling the help and also helping our clients as well, in terms of helping businesses do the operations themselves. Because as opposed to having to get a contractor in, for thousands of dollars daily basis, we can help organizations actually do the drone work themselves, and then work with Vivanti across how can we apply AI to a workflow, how can we deliver a business benefit. So Wayne will cover off a little bit more detail with UAV the next point, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So our next point here is in terms of more from Vivanti's perspective, but what would an ideal client engagement look like? Like, what would there's a lot of buzz around AI. How would Vivanti actually deliver that for a client? Like, what would be the tangible steps, and what's the real benefit to the client as well?
Yeah, sure. So we apply frameworks that we've evolved over the years to these kinds of engagements. We've got an Accelerate AI framework we apply to AI type engagements, where it's really about how do we tackle this use case and how do we apply essentially data science type thinking as well as other kinds of design and lean and agile methodologies. So we weave these together into a framework, and what we try and do is address certain essentially delivery program risks up front, where what are we building for, like really actually focus on that problem and refine that problem statement to align with the business and understand the metrics across what is it we're trying to reduce or maximize, and what are the ways we can do that, what are the simpler ways we can do that may even eliminate AI in the first place and say, there's a data solution to this. It's much simpler. We want to consider all those possibilities and workshop them through, and we make sure we involve all the client key stakeholders, subject matter experts, in key workshops, and just sort of progressively go through and refine a solution and understand the end-to-end flow of data and systems and people that'll be implemented. Because when you apply AI, you're typically changing the operations of some system, and you want to think that through end-to-end. So we do a lot of stuff up front, because then that avoids a lot of the common pitfalls in AI projects where people get stuck in rabbit holes and other kinds of distractions, or they spend too long working on a problem with a particular plan of attack that isn't going to be fruitful. So you try to avoid as much as that as possible up front, and then we iterate in a very experimental, fast, agile way to build what we think is going to work and keep testing and learning as we go. And it's kind of like a data science AI stream as well as an engineering stream within that. And then it shifts finally into how we deploy. So then we assist with deploying into production, and applying good practice and architectures around that. And sometimes we experiment in production too, because there's essentially the offline data world where you capture data from past runs or past data capture events, and we build models to detect certain things, and then run algorithms to apply those detections to trigger the next event in the business or report or whatever it is you need to do to get value out of it. But when things run in actual production, they're live, how it affects the whole environment of real world and the way your business operates needs to be tested and refined. So there's kind of an offline journey and an online journey after deployment.
Yep. Fantastic. And then this is probably an additional point here, but just off what you're saying there, is there then like a analysis maybe 6-12 months down the track to see, what was the business impact, or measuring the results? How does that sort of work to, give clients who might want to look at an engagement, sort of give them the certainty to say, look, we'll do our piece, there's an investment there. And and then let's check in 6, 12 months down the track to see what the ROI was. How does that sort of work, I guess?
So, and the ROI of the whole initiative is usually at the forefront in an AI project that we do. It's usually the justification for it in the first place, more so than other kinds of work we do. It's very ROI centric. And measurement's usually an essential part of justifying it. And usually it's applied to decide whether to roll out from a sort of a pilot phase to a full production phase. And in the case of drones, it might be, let's run a pilot at certain sites, see if that works, and then review that data. How we review it, build that out, depends on the situation. It could be quite contained, and we can run those reports very straightforwardly and have those conversations. Other times we've got to extract data out of the core systems a bit more, work with that. But we construct those experimental reporting dashboards, provide that back, and then there's a decision whether to roll this out to further sites and make that investment. In the case of drones, it's obviously combined with the investment of the hardware as well and the operations.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's fantastic. Now that gives us a lot of perspective. So in terms of going into a little bit, tangible for our attendees, for tangible solutions, going to the logistics, Vivanti works closely with Google, Google Cloud. What are some of the benefits there? Like how can Google Cloud add some value to customers in this space?
So Google is an AI leader, and their Google Cloud platform includes a lot of AI functionality, which we've applied over the years. And in the case of drones, it's a matter of, okay, we can obviously consider the data plumbing for like, how do we capture data in? Where does it land? Where does it get stored? Which of the different services Google Cloud provides to process that data should we use? Is this a real-time live processing use case, or this is something we could do in batch after capturing the data separately? It changes the nature of it a bit. All those services exist there, and they need to be engineered together. Google Cloud makes that fairly easy. So it's an always continuously evolving platform. On the AI front, they've got a lot of different services, some specifically to say vision, as well as audio and other kinds of modalities, as well as structured data, of course. In the vision space, they've got Cloud Vision APIs. They've got these tools that can out of the box already identify a bunch of different objects. And so a lot of cases we try to use those first, try to minimize the cost of the whole initiative by using models that are already pre-trained for what we need. If we need to train further, then we can fine-tune those models for classification. We also have the option of deploying open source models that are fine-tuned and trained in different paradigms. And we can use the Vertex AI suite, Google Cloud, to run and manage those different models. And applying there's concepts called like machine learning operations or AI operations for how you progressively develop AI, run training, evaluation, model deployment steps, and governance around those pieces. So we have patterns for that we apply, specifically for the Google Cloud suite. So yeah, that's kind of an overall picture of the sort of services and how we might stitch things together for the AI space.
Oh, fantastic.
Google Cloud.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And, my background formerly in IT and consulting, we did a lot around, using Google Cloud, and yeah, it's got a lot of pre-built tools, like you said, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, where you can leverage those from there. So that's really good to understand how that ties in. Yeah, I guess as the next step, where would clients go from here? Like if some businesses or government clients wanted to, have a chat, what would be the next step, to engage with Vivanti further?
Just reach out, to be honest. Contact us. We've got a website. Or any of us individually, just ping us via LinkedIn or wherever. And we'll just organize to have a conversation. We're very happy to just explore ideas with no obligation at all. We're just people who like to explore technical ideas, and we find this really interesting.
Mm.
So yeah, just reach out.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's really good. I guess I think a lot of different organizations are probably keen to understand how AI can tie in to give them a business benefit, because it's such a new space, and drones are also such a new space. So bringing those two emerging technologies might seem a little bit confusing or not really practical, but clearly as we've gone through, there's definitely use cases that can be applied. You guys have done this before.
Absolutely, yeah. So we can share that. We can share our learnings from past case studies more directly where we can. We obviously like to protect our clients' IP. And yeah, we can workshop things, we can explore things, and obviously be working closely with UAV Group to explore various opportunities in this space.
Fantastic. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll come back in a sec, Alistair, some Q&A. We'll just give a quick overview from Wayne in terms of what we're doing, how our services tie into the as the foundational piece, safety compliance, and then you've got the value add stuff. Getting the foundation right is really key, right, Wayne? So you want to get that right. What's your view on how that can add value?
Okay, yeah, as Glenn was alluding to, I guess where the UAV Group fit into this equation is that we will help either supply and help you build the foundation, your drone foundation to work on, or we'll confirm that the foundation you've already got is stable enough to support whatever operation you decide to go into. And so we'll build a safe and compliant foundation that that Ivanti can work around and then end up with a solution that is inside the regulations and safe and compliant. It's no good going off and spending all this money on AI and getting it, and then finding that, hold on, that's outside the box. The law won't allow us to do that. So we get into the basic where we fit in is we go, okay, this is safe, this is compliant, it's within inside the regs, or we can build something inside the regs so that what you choose to use AI for will deliver the goods to you. So yeah, so we'll basically help you have a safe and compliant foundation to build on. There's no good building on something that's not going to work.
Yeah, definitely.
That's where we fit in, right?
Fantastic. No, that's it. Thanks for that, Wayne. It's interesting with aviation. It's not as simple as just putting a drone in the air and seeing how it goes. It's with the regulator, with safety best practices. Then you've got your organizational WHS policies and best practices there, and the list goes on and on. There can be some complexity to operating drones, and our background in manned aviation, UAV Group, gives us that benefit to operate in the drone space, because you've got to have an understanding of how drones fit into the wider aviation piece, like Wayne was saying, because it's not just in isolation. You're in the airspace. There's a lot more rules around that, so we can advise from that perspective. So I guess that's sort of wrapping it up. If there's any Q&A, feel free to pop some in the chat. If anyone has any questions, or if anyone wants some more detail, this webinar will be recorded as well, so we'll be sending out the recording link to anyone there. I guess, Alistair, I was just thinking, as we're going through, in terms of like a standard, I guess what you'd say, if there is, it probably depend on the client, but on the standard type of engagement, that would sort of look at initial conversation with a client, and then potentially discovery workshops, I guess, which would be part of the paid engagement. What would the sort of a standard engagement sort of look like, at the embryonic stage on?
At the very embryonic stage, yeah, it's a good call out. And we would call it discovery, just like you said. No two situations are exactly the same. Mm-hmm. Even if you're both doing the same kind of project, say you're both trying to do surveillance with drones. So we would want to consider your exact situation, what data you've got already to work with, what sort of operation you want to do, what kind of things you want to detect, what's the nature of your equipment or things you want to have a look at, for example. And so it's really about having those discovery type conversations and working and progressing that. So look at his custom. We've got frameworks to apply, but it's just about having that conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Fantastic. Look, I can see we're at time, so we might leave it there. But if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and we can get some info through to Alistair, or organise next steps if there's any more information needed. But we might wrap up there. So Alistair, Wayne, thanks so much for joining, and thanks as well to all our attendees, everyone taking the time out of the day. We'll send a follow-up email. If you've got any other questions, feel free to reach out. Awesome.
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks,
Thanks,
Wayne.
everyone. Thanks for your
Good
time.
chat.
Thanks, guys.